I want to say something about the peacemaker role that the US is adopting at the moment in the world. Trump made this claim, didn't he, that, we've done Gaza, it's the 7th one we've done this year. And it just sounded like a Trump exaggeration, even a sort of lie, Actually, it's not. I looked it up. And the US government has arranged peace, not just in Gaza for now, who knows how long it'll last, but like between Cambodia and Thailand, Serbia and Kosovo. He stopped Israel and Iran. Yeah, once they'd taken out the nuclear thing, he stopped Israel. India and Pakistan. There's 7 of them. You can look it up, and that's quite remarkable. Okay, I'll launch into the first point. There's a kind of cognitive dissonance there for a lot of people, because Trump is, a lot of people can't stand him and they can't see anything good about him. And he has brought about peace in 7 different areas just within the first 10 months of his office, areas throughout the world. That is quite remarkable, quite unprecedented. I can't think of anyone else who's done that. And that's just objective. It's true. It's remarkable. It's quite an extraordinary thing. And yet people hate him so much. They think he's just a tyrant. He's a brute. He's just in it for his own sake. He's just doing it for the rich. It's da-di-da-di-da. There's this whole list of things. He's a womanizer. He's all these things. And yet there's that. How do we deal with that? And it's one of the most impressive things I find about people is when they can let inconvenient facts into what they want to believe. Because what people want to believe is so fundamental to who we are. It gives us our sense, our place in the world. It tells us who we are. Yeah, all these sets of beliefs. And if something comes in that upsets those beliefs, it's a major threat. Yeah, we don't want to know. We want to stay with who we are. It makes us feel good. It makes us feel virtuous. It makes us feel better than whoever it is we hate, etc., etc., etc. But you need to be able to. And it's far more virtuous than standing there with a placard saying feed the poor or whatever it is. Of course, yeah, feed the poor. That's good, yeah. Or stop nuclear war. Something like that, yeah. Whatever it is you're protesting about, that's easy. It's easy to protest, yeah, and to feel virtuous. What's much harder is to change your beliefs about something. And I think it's incumbent on a lot of people to do so, because you can't ignore all this peace that's been brought about. Well, you could just go, well, he's done it in Gaza, but it won't last, and then ignore the claims of all the rest because you haven't looked them up. Yeah, and just go, that's just him exaggerating. But actually, if you're honest about it, it really is something. And so being able to allow that in it takes a lot. It takes integrity. It takes honesty. But also, to be honest, it's what grown-ups do. And when it comes to Donald Trump, the grown-ups left the room a long time ago in terms of being able to judge the man. It's like people just see him as a monster and that's it. And they can't see, well, that actually he's complex like everyone. So this is partly also a plea for the grown-ups to come back into the room and see the guy in his complexity. There may be all sorts of things you have good reasons not to like him for, but this one you have to give him credit for. It's an objective fact. Yeah. Okay, so there's that. And then there's also the US as peacemaker, because that is what Trump is enabling, the US to be the peacemaker. Now, the peacemaker actually has a long history in the US. It's deep within the US psyche, because the great peacemaker was a Huron back sometime between the 12th and 15th centuries. And he got together with Hiawatha, who was a Mohawk chief. And there'd been all these terrible slaughter going on between these 5 different nations on the East Coast. And they created this confederacy such that whenever there was a difference between two nations, they would bring it to this intertribal council, which was the which was the Iroquois Confederacy, and that would then adjudicate rather than going to war and people slaughtering each other. And this was an influence in the US Constitution, the principles that this Iroquois Confederacy, which worked very well for centuries. I mean, it's still there, yeah? It's still going on, yeah? It had an influence on the Iroquois Confederacy. Benjamin Franklin went to one of their meetings in the Longhouse. The Longhouse stood for the Confederacy and for the peace that they brought about. It's not, it's not a sort of, direct influence. Yeah, you can't say, well, that is there because of that. But there were principles of like federalism, peace and diplomacy, consensus that it functioned by. And it was interesting how it would be a man that would represent each nation at the Confederacy, but it would be the women who chose the man. Yeah? And if the man wasn't doing his job right, the women could sack him. Well, the women didn't entirely choose, but the women put forward the candidates, and then they had to go through various selection processes. So it was understood within this confederacy the different natures of men and women. Men like to be up front with the big voices, yeah, in public, yeah. Women have the power of discernment, of judgment, of character, yeah? When to do things, how to do things. And they understood these different natures of men and women. And I think that's great because we've forgotten that these days. We don't know what men and women are anymore. We just think men are toxic. And at the same time, women are supposed to be like men. It's a complete mess. Yeah. So they understood it in the way indigenous people around the world seem to have understood these different natures of men and women. And of course, it's going to get out of balance sometimes. But and some women are going to be more like men and some men are going to be more like women. But by and large, that's how it works. And if you have a society that functions according to those natures, people will be happier. It will function well. And those different powers can come to the fore and influence how things happen. Anyway, so this idea of the peacemaker is deep somewhere within the American psyche, and it goes back before the white man. It's a deep thing. And Trump is enacting that deep current within the American psyche. And it comes out in the American chart, which is the US, the Sibley chart, which is the chart astrology uses. Saturn is in the 10th house in Libra. Yeah? America in the past has been called the world's policeman. And I take that as a good thing. The world bloody well needs policing. And it needs a benign policeman. It needs the fair-mindedness that Libra brings. And it needs the law and order that Saturn brings. It's perfect for that. Yeah. So Trump is bringing back America as the world's policeman, and he's doing a really good job of it. It's unprecedented. And the American Libra is at 14 degrees, 48 minutes of Libra. And Trump's Chiron is at 14 degrees, 54 minutes of Libra. It's either that or the other way around. It's extraordinary close connection. So you can see Chiron as the healer. He is bringing that. I mean, a lot of people will find it hard to see that and to take it seriously because they think so badly of Trump. But that is what he's doing. You can see it in terms of what's happened. And Trump's Jupiter is 3 degrees away from the US Saturn as well. So that's nice. That brings a benign influence, an expansive influence, and also it is a ruler in a different way as well. It is the king, Jupiter. So he brings that through his kind of there's a sort of semi-outer planet influence from his chart onto the American chart. And if we look at Trump's personal chart, in his 11th house, which is like community, yeah, in his case, the international community, we see Venus and Saturn together in Cancer. So there you go. Venus is diplomacy. Saturn, again, is a kind of lawgiver. Um, it's quite stern. It's like, no, we will do this properly. Yeah. And it's in the sign of Cancer, which cares. And we've seen it again and again, what he said, all this senseless killing in the Ukraine war. That seems to offend him. That seems to upset him. I mean, there's a place for killing. Sometimes you have to take out your enemies. But it's like, there's no point to this war. It's not achieving anything. And thousands of men, young men usually, are being killed, as well as the civilians. And he said it again and again. So that is Venus in Cancer. So, and then behind it, he's got Mars rising in Leo. That's the big stick, because he's also prepared to use the stick. It's like he's trying carrot and stick with Putin, isn't he? I don't know if he'll ever get anywhere, but you can see he's trying his damnedest. He's been trying all bloody year. He really is trying to succeed. I suspect he will, because he's gifted, and he will learn how to handle it and make it happen. So that's something in Trump's chart about what makes him the peacemaker, as well as a lot of other things. I'm not trying to influence here your overall assessment of the man, but I think I just find it all really interesting. This, first of all, the cognitive dissonance thing. Yeah, it would be so. If you really can't stand Trump, really look at this thing. Yeah, and at least give him credit for something, and that's a mark of integrity. If you can do that, it shows you are an adult. Yeah, because that's what adults do. If you do shamanic stuff like I do, the medicine wheel is in the north, and that's the place of the elder, and that's also the place of air, which is the mind, and the gift of the mind is that objectivity. It is that disidentification, that disinterestedness. That's what old people can do. They're not so tied up in everything, and they can stand back and go, well, let's weigh it up. That's what the adult does. So that's what I'm talking about, the elder place in the medicine wheel, the air place. So yeah, there's that element. And then there's the peacemaker archetype, which is deep in the American psyche. And he's bringing that to the fore in an unprecedented way. And then how we see it in the American chart, Saturn in the 10th house. And what I didn't mention is the beginning of the 10th house is Libra as well, but it's the beginning of Libra. Neptune is opposite that at the moment. And that is, if you like, the peacemaker coming back. Yeah. Because America hasn't really been that for a while. And it's like, oh no, we mustn't interfere with people and we need to leave them to it. And it's not what you do. But Trump doesn't make any bones about that. It's none of that pseudo-liberal attitude. No, we'll go in there and we'll make peace happen. And 1 degree Libra overhead, Neptune's opposite that. So it's the rebirth of the America as the world's policeman in a good way. And then he'll go on in about 6 or 7 years' time to oppose the Saturn in the 10th house. So maybe there's a long period of America re-emerging as the world's policeman, and it bloody well needs it. Yeah, with China coming to the fore as well. I don't think China's interested in peace in the same sort of way. It's just interested in its own interests, which is kind of normal. China's just doing what any country will do. I mean, America is trying to set it up as the evil empire at the moment, which is what America usually has evil empires to project onto, and that's not the best side of the American psyche. But hey ho, there it is. So there it is. A few things around America, the peacemaker.